Confidence isn't built before you take action, it's built through action. You don't get confident first, you start first, then confidence follows.
I didn't even have to think about that one because there's so many times where I've been terrified, done the thing, and grown in confidence. It's easy to make a big change when we're in crisis because we are in so much pain here where we are that we will do anything to get out of that pain. The turning point for me was literally deciding, like, no, I'm just going to talk to someone today. I'm just going to like come out of that sort of like socially anxious bubble that I had created for
Mm.
myself, and I'm just going to start building relationships. And I guess that set this ball rolling on like this idea that humans have this unlimited sense of potential, and we tap into that potential not by the big leaps and life changes, but by these small little decisions that we get the chance to make every single day. Yeah, it's really led me to the work that I do now.
Coach me if you can. Coach me if you can. Coach me if you can. Coach me if you can.
Kyra Matthews, thanks for joining us in the show. Welcome to this very exclusive corner of chaos, the Coach Me If You Can podcast. We just spoke, a previous guest, actually, Elisa Davis, recommended I reach out to you. And when I came across your profile, I just had to describe it with one word, like, wow. From everything, from the colors, it was just the brand popped out. And I was like, whoa, this is a whole nother level. I snooped around your profile, manifestation and confidence. When I think about my daughter, she is 3 years old now. Confidence is probably right up there in my goals, how I create
Yeah.
confidence. She's got buckets of confidence. So I just have to kind of just make sure it doesn't leave her in some way. But I'm so happy to have you on the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I love that. I was going to say, like, your 3 year old daughter probably has like the most confidence. I love that. Like, I'm sure, could be a role model for both of us. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So my wife and I often clash heads together, like, how come she's so confident? And I think it's just the
Mm,
environment we've kind of created. We haven't tried to get her to be confident, but she just blazes a trail at daycare.
yeah.
She mimics the mentors and asks other kids to kind of push in their chairs, and she knows everybody's name. And she's
I
3.
love
But
that.
anyway, as someone who lacked confidence for a long time in my life, and now someone who's regained it, I just want my children to be confident, be themselves, to dare. And when I look at your profile, it's someone who dares, who's out there, who's hosting events. So maybe to kick us off, when did this moment with you start? The moment that maybe changed everything when it comes to confidence?
Mm. It's so interesting starting this conversation talking about your 3 year old daughter and how she's got all of this confidence, and you wanting to make sure it doesn't leave her. And I think it's so interesting because so many of us can look back on our childhood and we have that same feeling about us often, that there was a time where we felt really comfortable in ourselves. There was a time when the world made sense according to the way we saw things. And then something changes and it questions and shakes how we see the world and how we view ourselves and how we view our relationships with other people. And I think I definitely had that moment. So I have a younger brother. And if you asked anyone in my family, they would say like Kyra would be the one who would be speaking for like the both of them. So if my brother was thirsty, I would be the one that asked the adult who was around for a drink or for a snack or like whatever we needed. But then something happened where I felt, I would say probably in my teens, when my confidence and my sense of self was really shaken, and it made me question the way I saw things. But definitely I took that with me through into early adulthood. I did a degree in fashion design. And when I went to university,
That
I thought,
explains all the vibrant
it
colors,
really
maybe.
does. You're like, yeah, okay, cool, fine. That's like that. And I loved it. I thought I was going to go to Paris and work with Alexander McQueen and do all of that stuff. But then I entered the industry, I think, so keen and so eager and slightly naive to what the industry was like. And it made me question my self-worth, who I was, what I thought I maybe was deserving of or not deserving of. Coaching had always been in my life growing up. It is something that my mum had always instilled in us, the sense that like you can always figure it out. You just have to change how you're thinking about things and shape your perspective. Like your perspective is always within your control. And so of course I forgot all about that when I went to university and like moved out of my family home. I was like, yeah, coaching, whatever. But then when I was working in the fashion industry and finding it really tough, like really tough to get along with people, really tough as a fashion freelancer, I was like, I need something. Something is not quite right. And I remember reading this newsletter, this personal development newsletter by, I can only remember his first name, which was Anthony. And it was really, really good. And it reminded me about all of these lessons that my mum taught me. And I essentially went on this journey to rediscover myself, rediscover my confidence. And yeah, that was many, many years ago. And I started my coaching business in the day that the UK went into the pandemic, which was really, really fun. So I've just continued growing from there.
Okay, I mean, buckets to unpack there. You're not the first one to say, when it comes to confidence, almost unconditioning that kind of children are naturally confident, but we lose something along the way. That stuck with me. We'll return to that later. And you said something that struck me. You were in the fashion industry, a dream job, arguably, but something didn't feel right. So can you just walk us through from that feeling of something's not right, what it was, how it kind of manifested with you, and then the decision to shift?
Yeah, sure. So I think I started to see or be exposed to new people and new ways of life. And I think I felt very intimidated. Fashion is an incredible industry. It's really exciting. It's fast paced. There's so many things going on. There's so many people doing things. I think it's really easy to get caught up in this sort of comparison trap of, I should be doing what that person is doing and I should have what that person has and I should be just doing all the things all the time. And it manifested in feeling like really inadequate when I walked into rooms, this sense of like, that person has been credited in all of these magazines and I've just been credited in this short list. Like they must be so great, they must be so talented, they must be so skilled. So I sort of, I guess, underestimated what I brought to the table and I put everybody else on a pedestal, which created this huge sense of insecurity. And I was a freelancer working in fashion and I had this moment where I was like, being this insecure is really bad for business. It's really bad because I worked in fashion styling. So what that would mean is that a magazine or a company, a product, they would want an advert for their new moisturizer. They would want images for a new campaign, and a magazine or an agency would bring together a team of stylists, makeup artists, and photographers. So every week I was working on new teams with new people. And I realized by being so insecure and by being so afraid, I wasn't able to connect with any of the people that I was working with. It meant that people would know me because I did good work, but they wouldn't necessarily remember me because we had built a relationship and a connection, because I was so afraid to talk to people. And the turning point for me was literally deciding like, no, I'm just going to talk to someone today. I'm just going to like come out of that sort of like socially anxious bubble that I had created for myself, and I'm just going to start building relationships. And then I saw that that had a huge impact on my freelance business. Like people remembered me and they referred jobs to me and I to them as well. And I guess that set this ball rolling on like this idea that that humans have this unlimited sense of potential. And we tap into that potential not by the big leaps and life changes, but by these small little decisions that we get the chance to make every single day. Yeah, it's really led me to the work that I do now.
Wow, I love that. I mean, I had to think of social media. You comparing yourself to other individuals, feeling kind of something here is not right, but that's what probably so many people are doing now with social media. They're comparing themselves to other people, putting other people on pedestals, looking at the distance between that person and me. And then, yeah, I loved how you kind of phrased that. You mentioned that something just changed within you. It's not like there was something that was missing from you that you then got and then you behaved differently. It's just kind of a mindset shift. You went like, right, I'm just going to go and talk to people and get out of the bubble.
Yeah.
That really stuck with me. Quick one from me. If this podcast has made you laugh, think, or question your entire life plan while loading up the dishwasher or doing a diaper, do me a favor, please subscribe. Hit that follow button on Spotify. It's free and it helps me more than you know. Now, real talk. I want feedback, ideas, or a coach you swear by. I want to hear from you. So either hit me up in the Spotify comments section or head to www.coachmeifyoucan.show and send me a message. Back to the show. So we have a bit of a tradition here on the show. It's called Fact and Fiction.
Okay.
Well, I'll throw a couple of statements your way and you can bust them. You can tell me if they're fact or fiction. The first one, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, it's that we're powerful beyond measure.
I've heard this before. This is so interesting. I'm conflicted. One, because I want to believe that this is fact, because that is so cool. I love the idea that all humans are endlessly limitless.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another part of my brain that says, I've worked with so many clients that are like terrified of doing the thing because they're terrified that someone's going to say, oh my God, who am I to do this? But then I go to the other side and I think, gosh, like you can also have a fear of success. You can have a fear of doing that thing. I'm going to say neither. I'm going to say it's situational.
Okay, I like that. We're creating our own rules already. I love it. Cool. Yeah, that quote sticks with me. Variety of reasons. Nelson Mandela used it in his speech. Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson mentioned it. It's actually from Marianne Williamson, a quote out of a poem.
What do you think of that one?
Well, it resonates with me a lot because I remember thinking, knowing when I had issues with confidence, knowing like you're not yourself, and what if I'm missing out on something here? What if there's so much more in life and the kind of tram tracks that I'm on, the autopilot that I'm on is not kind of the best I can get out of this. And so this, the deepest fear being the powerful within, that I'm missing out on something, that really stuck with me. Arguably one of my favorite quotes, because I always, now that I'm more confident, it becomes less important. But back then when I was in the day, it was something's not right here. I'm not feeling myself. That kind of always thought, well, it always primed me for sure.
I like that. I like your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Confidence is more predictive of success than competence in business.
I would say that's a fact. The reason why I would say that's a fact is because I feel like the world is always changing. I find AI and crypto so interesting and so fascinating. They're so completely so far from my worlds. I mean, I use AI every day. But I do feel like if someone has the confidence to try something new, if they have the confidence to fail, put themselves out there, they feel no shame in asking for help. Like that is a thing that will help you develop the competence in so many areas, regardless of what you do. I think if you have competence in one area, sometimes it can limit you because you build your whole work identity around this core competency that you feel terrified of trying something new and it not working out. And as the world changes, definitely as business owners, your flexibility and your ability to adapt is one of the things that is going to help your business survive. Like I think about Kodak cameras, who did film cameras and like resisted digital so much. Like there's so many very famous examples of businesses that had this core competency, but they didn't survive because they didn't change. Blockbusters as well.
I still use it, a Kodak moment. That was a Kodak moment.
I love that. Yes. I was talking to someone the other day about like, it was like, I used to love taking my disposable camera to the shop and like, you wait 3 days to get the photos back. That used to be like my thing. I used to love that so much. But yeah.
No, I love that. This one's good as well. Confidence isn't built before you take action. It's built through action. You don't get confident first. You start first, then confidence follows.
I didn't even have to think about that one because there's so many times where I've been terrified, done the thing, and grown in confidence. I also think about this idea that like, I think maybe I got this from James Cleare's book, Atomic Habits. He talks about change and how resistant humans are to change and how we often only change when there's a crisis. And it's easy to make a big change when we're in crisis because we are in so much pain here where we are that we will do anything to get out of that pain. We're not asking ourselves, do I now feel confident enough to like start going to the gym or like whatever that thing is? We just kind of do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go fact for that one.
But I'm wondering how many people, maybe from the listeners, but I definitely know a few friends who are waiting for this kind of wand ding moment, when they're confident, and then they start, maybe because they're worried about looking like a beginner or failing. Most people don't succeed because they fear looking like a beginner, but no one is watching you as much as you think they are.
Yeah. I feel like I should say something like people are all wrapped up in their own stuff. They're so wrapped up in their own stuff that they won't even notice you. But what I actually want to say is that life is happening now. It's not happening sometime in the future when you've got it all figured out. Even if they are watching and even if they're like studying your every move, I kind of feel like who cares? This is your life. Go out and do the thing, fail in front of them, fail in public, build in public, do the thing. Because before they realize it, you would have built something and they will still be watching. So yeah, those are my thoughts for that one.
Yeah, good. I like him a lot. Your future self is just your present self with better habits. Manifesting change starts today with choices.
I love that one. I will also add that like your future self is you. They've had perspective and experience. Yeah. And I love that you can change your choices. Yeah, I love that one. Fact.
Cool. Okay, good. You survived fact or fiction. Well done.
I was scared for a second, so I'm glad.
Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I should turn up the heat next time for the next guest. But you did really well. So the next part of the show is actually the heart of the show, where we turn the tables around a bit. I hand you the reins and we do a bit of a coaching challenge. So this is where you get something like 45 minutes to coach me. And this can go anywhere, but I hand the reins over to you and the listener can join in on how it might feel like being coached by Kyra.
Cool.
Towards the end, we'll reflect on kind of what happened, what worked, what didn't work. And yeah, ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. I hand the reins over to you. You can, this is now your coaching session, or my coaching session technically, but you're the coach.
Amazing. I
Let's
love
do
this. So what can I help you with today? What are we coaching on?
Well, okay. Maybe to give you a couple of, just to sketch you the last 2 years, and maybe start off there. When it comes to confidence, has been a big theme throughout the last 2 years. I burned out at a previous company. I kind of reinvented myself afterwards. Comes back to what we were speaking, crisis and opportunity. So that was a moment something had to change. For me, I was something like 30 kilos heavier 3 years ago. And I didn't feel myself. And I had kind of chronic hand eczema at the time. And I remember not even being able to do my daughter's nappies, and without a kind of a fear of an infection on my hands. So I changed my entire life. I quit a job. We moved countries, but boy, did the family commit to the new reinvention. And the Peter in front of you now is just a completely different person, more confident, myself, resonates with the environment you sketched at when you were working in fashion. Just something felt off. You weren't yourself. And I guess some people might have to kind of figure out, do they commit like you did to making the best out of it and just being yourself and living your own life? And in my case, I knew it was so bad I had to pull the plug and say, like, ciao, I'm outie, and I've got my stuff to figure out. I'd say now I'm a lot more confident, and so that gives you a bit of flavor from the last 2 years, a bit to unpack there. But almost I'm more attracted to what you know about manifestation, because I'm someone who's often thinking strategically, looking towards the future. And that's something we haven't. So we covered confidence in the show before. We can unpack that, sure. But actually the manifestation piece, gaining any more insight, but also on what that can offer individuals. Yeah, that's super exciting to me. Yeah, I gave you a lot there, but
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for painting that picture of like the last 3 years, because I didn't know that about you. And that's such a huge change. And yeah, that sounds really interesting. I guess I'm curious, I know you said you're really strategic, you're often thinking about the future. What does the future look like for you? Or what would you like it to look like?
I've often gone, often when it comes to career, those kind of things, looking to the future. But in terms of what's most important to me, I would say my impact on my family. I haven't envisaged so much in the future yet. I have kind of gone along the lines of the Lou Reed song, The Perfect Day. What would the perfect day look like for me? If I know what the perfect day looks like, I might be able to recognize small elements that are slowly kind of falling into place already, that I'm having, 3 of the 5 tick the boxes of a perfect day, and hey, today wasn't that bad. But yeah, so when I look to the future, that's often I've imagined the perfect day. Yeah.
Interesting. And what does your perfect day consist of?
Okay, definitely those closest to me are at their best in whatever shape or form. They're in the zone. They're doing their thing. There's nothing that's throwing them out of whack, so they can be themselves. They're at their best. That's kind of like one of the terms and conditions. Like, for it to be a good day, people would have to be at their best, in a good place. And then I'm talking my family members. I know I have to feel good, and this is something I've learned on the podcast previously. If my impact on my family is one of my chief most important things, I've recently learned I have to take care of myself so that I can take care of others. It wasn't that clear to me a few weeks ago, but thanks to this show, I learned something from a guy called Tom Godfrey.
Nice.
And so if I think my family needs to be at their best, they need to be feeling good in the zone, I'd say, and same goes for me. So I'd need to take care of myself, reflecting back on burnout. That means physically, that means eating well, that means a lot of these conditions that need to be met so that I feel good in my own skin, literally, having mentioned the eczema piece. So yeah, for me, it's very much about the feeling of that I have within me and those around me. And you can see that if my daughter then is like she is now, my wife is like she is now, then that's already pretty great. My son's 8 months, but if I imagine a confident family, people that are feeling good in their skin, that's already a whole lot. And then, then there's just the color and the friends around me. So I'd imagine, let's do this. Okay, so I'd imagine, maybe the day starting off with breakfast as the family. Maybe even I've been one up and I've gone for a run on my own with my dog. No outside influences, no podcasts, no news, no nothing. Just kind of running with my dog. And that ticks the dog's boxes, that ticks my boxes. And then a big kind of family breakfast, kind of where we're together. Pancakes.
Lovely.
Who doesn't like American kind of fluffy pancakes?
Yeah, strawberries, blueberries.
Yeah, that's up there. That's up there for sure. And then kind of having a cool plan for the day, something different. This could be a fun activity with the family, going to the zoo, something like that. This is sounding a lot like the Lou Reed song. But the end of the day would have to be with friends and those who mean most to me. And then again, it would be about the feeling that other people have. Really good food, really good vibes. Yeah, I think one has to share those events with friends, you know, the feeling good. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. And a
Yeah.
party where your friends, family are there, the kids are playing, and everybody's kind of in a bit of a harmony vibe. There's sunshine, there's maybe a glass of wine, there's definitely good food on the barbecue,
Yes.
and friends you're looking forward to catching up with. I mean, I moved around so much together with my wife and my family over the last 6-7 years. What we want now is, and maybe that's why it's the perfect day at the moment, maybe that changes, is definitely spending time with friends and those closest to us. Yeah, good conversation, laughter. And
I love that. I love how you started by saying, it's really important that your close family feel really good. And then you spoke about how that really starts with you feeling good, and then you're able to impact others. And then I love the picture that you painted of pancakes, barbecue, nice wine, good friends around. Is there anything that you would say that is stopping you from feeling like that now in your current life? Or would you say that you've pretty much nailed it?
no, that's such a good question, and that's I was slowly starting to think in those lines, like if that's the perfect day, when am I having these elements of the perfect day? If I'm having pancakes, this is already pretty good, you know, a pretty good day.
Yeah.
No, nothing really. I mean, it's only the distance between me and that vision. It entails a dream house, it entails a garden, you know, all these things that we don't have. So there is that sense of, you know, the environment we're in right now is not ideal for all of us. It's perfectly fine, but maybe that kind of separates it. But I'm sure I could have the perfect day at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. It's interesting because whenever I'm thinking about manifestation, teaching it to somebody else, it's always about wanting something, having something that's going to add
Hmm.
some value to yourself or to the value to your family. But how can we want that thing without abandoning and sort of rejecting what we have now? Which it sounds like you're
Yeah.
able to hold that together in terms of like the house that you have now is fine, but there is this dream house that you've probably seen on Rightmove, you've driven past it like a couple of times and you're like, yeah, like that would feel really
Yeah.
good for me.
Yeah. I've often thought about it though and reflected, like, if we have this house, but it looks completely different and I'm having this kind of perfect day, will I be like, ding, you know, it's your perfect day, dude.
Mm,
Wake up, you know? Or will you recognize it when it's there? Or, but that's something I mean, maybe it ties into gratitude as well. There's so much to be grateful for. And even these elements, if they happen, not all on the same day at the same time, but yeah, being aware of those elements, I think is probably a pretty powerful tool.
yeah, nice.
I haven't written them down yet. I haven't written the perfect day down and the elements. And I think that would be a good exercise for me. Also, just to
Mm,
see, hey, you had, 3 out of 5. It's not a bad day. Even if
yeah,
you're not in your
sure.
dream house and you don't have the big garden and children playing in teepees in the garden. Yeah.
What would you say is the things that's stopping you from having that house?
Stability. I think stability for us at the moment as a family, we're in a city where we don't want to stay and we want to move back to where we come from in the Netherlands.
Okay,
And
lovely.
we're kind of at the point where we're just like, we want to move one more time and we'll die there, all of us. Like, we're never moving again. And we're going to grow roots and
Yeah.
just, they'll have to evict us before we leave. That's kind of what we want now. So what's stopping us? No, we're really close to achieving that. So my wife and I are looking for houses now in the place. It's not going to be the dream house, but I think if the family's around and they're feeling good and I'm having those elements of the perfect day, I don't really mind what the house looks like, right? Because it's kind of, it all wouldn't mean much if you can't share it with the people you care for most. That's very kind of prevalent
Yeah,
in my mind.
absolutely.
You might be in a big house and it all looks great, but if you've got no one to share it with, then where would you be? Speaking to you now, yeah, I'm in a good position to achieve that. And I like that it doesn't feel like it's too lofty of a goal. It's not too far out there. It's very much about feeling, being together, spreading joy, spreading love, that kind of thing. And good food, yeah. We said
Yeah,
that.
I love that. I think that a common misconception that people have with manifestation is that it's just ticking off like a shopping list of wants. Like, I want a house, I want a car, I want a watch, I want this holiday. And it can be really focused on a sort of materialistic shopping list, as it were. When I hear you talk about the house, it's really interesting because there's a wanting and also an action. So before I asked that question, I was curious to know if this was just a want, if this was just a sort of dream that sat at the back of your mind while you were living your life, working, family, all of those things, or is this something that you see yourself taking those tangible actions? And manifestation will always work best, and this is for the listeners, when we have that want, we have that desire, we have that goal, and we also are taking steps, making that daily progress. But I am curious, if the house isn't a lofty goal, I'm curious what your lofty goals are, if you do have a lofty goal.
Yeah, I suppose one category, one loftier goal, even loftier goal. I think that would come back to time, kind of how I spend my time, whether I'm deciding how I spend my time. For me, I'm in a good place. I mean, there's such a stark contrast to the last few years that I sketched with where I am now. I'm very good in my career. I'm doing a great job. I work at a fantastic company with people that are actually happy and high-fiving each other when something is achieved.
Yeah.
I've got this passion project that has us speaking to each other together now today, which lights up all the bulbs. But if I think of one goal even bigger, it would be that I'm in a position where I can decide how I spend my time. And that comes to very much the freedom of calendars, meetings, the little things, being able to take I'm fast forwarding a bit and imagining what would be cool if she did, taking her to judo lessons on the bicycle. You know, in the Netherlands here, we're all bike mad, but being able to take her to that, or rugby or ballet, whatever it is, by bike randomly during the day, that for me would be so big. And also knowing that I can decide how I apply myself in my career, in my own business, hopefully then, yeah, kind of being the master of one's own time.
What would that allow you to feel?
I'd say empowerment. One's in charge of one's own calendar, what one wants to do. I'm very kind of strength focused, so I'd be wanting to apply myself in my career only using my kind of top strengths, activities that leave me strengthened as opposed to weakened, and being able to design my day around energy, but also those family activities, and also having a lot of free time, like with the family, especially while children are young and in the house. I'd want to maximize that. So having a goal of how my own business might allow me to do that, that's, I think, a worthy goal to have.
How do you feel about time now and your calendar now?
Not empowered, I'd say. I'd say
Okay.
I think that probably lots of people don't feel empowered by their calendar, but it's more, you have a social calendar, family calendar, you have work, you have podcast appointments, you know, it's all colliding, and the never ending kind of playing Tetris with the calendar slots to see where it kind of fits in. But no, there's a lot of kind of things you don't necessarily want to do that you do because it keeps the boat in an even keel. But in the future, the idea would be to spend more time on things that really kind of excite you.
Yeah, interesting. And what is not empowered for you? Like, if that was an emotion, what would you describe it as?
Stress.
Okay.
So kind of like the feeling that I would want calendars to kind of give me, or when I open up my calendar, the feeling I would want to get is like, yes, this reflects how I want to be, as opposed to me running around like a headless chicken, making sure I'm not, late to meetings. The absence of that would be stressful. Doing things for other people that you don't necessarily see yourself doing, and unorganized. Like, I like to prepare for things. I like to, unorganized, I think, would be something, and stress. Yeah.
Yeah. So also, I guess there's a sense of obligation where you're doing things for other people that maybe
Yeah,
you
for
don't want
sure.
to do. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I'm thinking about manifestation, I'm often thinking about that future self version, future self who has achieved that lofty goal, that thing we want to have. And one of the core emotions that that time in your calendar would allow you to feel is empowerment. We can immediately contrast to how you feel now: stress, obligation, and disorganized. I'm wondering, when you're feeling stressed and you're feeling that sense of obligation and you're feeling disorganized, what does that cause you to do? How does that sort of manifest in how you're showing up in your life at the moment?
Exhaustion, I think. I mean, it's like after having had a burnout, kind of your time, your energy becomes something you protect.
Sure.
And so kind of the absence of organization when it comes to calendars, I think it just, yeah, it deducts from the energy bank account a lot more. Not necessarily the activities that you do, but just the fact that it's all a bit messy, kind of, it depletes me quicker. I had something recently, I was in a meeting and I was trying to do something else at the same time. I was completely wiped out.
Yeah.
There were days where I could do that. Not anymore. No, I was
Yeah.
completely wiped out. I needed to go for a walk. But those kind of examples, they happen. But yeah,
Do you know the tasks that would give you energy?
yes, yeah.
What are they? Or
I mean,
just
it
some
depends
examples?
if we take, yeah, if we take my professional career, it's being applying my top strengths. I'm very kind of strength aware, so this could be strategic thinking, ideation, improving things, being futuristic about ideas, how this could look like in the future, those kind of things. Working on a new project, solving a complex problem, dissecting it like a frog first, studying the problem, and then saying, okay, this is how we're going to solve this problem for whoever. That's, yeah, then I really feel like I'm applying everything of myself. And especially ideas energize me a whole lot. And that's something also, I suppose, there's a new thought from my side now, but in terms of ideas, they give me energy, they inspire me, but I don't actually dedicate time to these things, like just idea generation. That could be, if you think about it now, that could be a spot in my calendar where that's another thought, like just scheduling time to deep work, to think, to also sharpen the sword, to learn, to improve.
Yeah,
It's at the
nice.
moment, it's other influences. Calendar invites are sent to me. I'm not blocking my time at the moment for things that are important to me.
Yeah, nice. One of the most powerful tools when we're thinking about our future self is zooming out to that future version of us and thinking, how would they, if they were to come into my life right now with all of their skills and their knowledge and wisdom, what would they change about my life? I kind of do this. I ask
Mm.
my clients this a lot. I said, if Beyonce walked into your business today and she was going to take over the reins, she became CEO, what would she start doing? What would she stop doing? What would she no longer be available for within the resources that you have right now? How would she take your current resources and turn that into something amazing? And I guess, as you said, with that thought about like the ideas, I really like ideas generation that gives me energy, thinking, how can I bring this sort of future self live into my calendar or into my life in small ways? Is it like setting a boundary? I don't do calls on Fridays, or if you can have that autonomy, or I don't do calls before
That
nine-thirty.
sounds amazing. Like I would wonder how my work would react. Just like, oh, his lordship has decided, he doesn't do invite. Yeah, I mean, but I would love something like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
bold. But carving out time for ideas, and for deep work and for just working, making sure that what I'm spending my time on is also serving my company in the best way, that
Yeah.
my impact is the biggest, um, but also that it's in a way that it's applying my strengths in the best way. Yeah,
Mm.
almost like a kind of a strategy session with myself where I kind of zoom out. If I continue doing
Yes.
this, where am I leading? I like the Beyonce intervention as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that kind of taking like a successful person and what would they say. And funnily enough, you often know some of the bits and bobs they end up saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you bring up a really important point of like some of the things that you want, maybe there are situations in your life where you wouldn't be able to do that. For example, no calls on Friday or, sleeping in on a Saturday. Like maybe there are situations in your life where that isn't possible. Often when the brain is thinking about change, it thinks about these complete overnight changes, these complete drastic shifts. And it thinks that we need a drastic shift in order to feel that fulfillment that we're wanting. But the emotion that you're most seeking is empowerment. But what you're feeling at the moment is that stress. So it's like, I would be curious, like when you have that strategy session with yourself, how can we turn down the stress just by like 10%? We can just start by turning it down by 10% in different places. And how can we turn up that sense of energy and empowerment 10%? And maybe it is that, I'm not sure if you work from home, but maybe it is like one lunchtime you dedicate that to playing with your kids at lunch, just as an example. And then when we start to think about shifting things by 10%, 10%, 10% over a period of weeks or months, what we find is that even just that 10% shift helps us feel that sense of empowerment. It's like, when you start saving for something new, like at the moment I'm saving for a holiday, and you put the first £5 in, the first £10 in. It's really small. You
To
can't
where?
go, oh, I want to go to India.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a
I want to
good.
spend
That's a
some
good.
time. I want to spend some time in India, but you can't buy a flight ticket with the first £5, but it doesn't stop you feeling any less excited about it. It doesn't stop you feeling any less committed to that journey that you're on. And actually, holidays are a really good example because we get excited about holidays before we even book the ticket. We go on Skyscanner and we just look at the destination and we're like, oh my God, that would be so amazing. And it's the same with so many other areas of our lives. How can we generate that excitement as if that thing is happening for us now? And what we do is that we program our subconscious mind to look for those little wins, and those little wins start to add up.
Yeah, I mean it's a good point because, and it's also good exercise to do. What would little wins in my calendar look like? Maybe first designing different buckets. You have the work bucket, you have your private life bucket, you have sharpening your saw, maybe you have your family stuff, maybe different colors, and just kind of making sense of it in a colorful way could be like a first win. I like the idea of small wins in a calendar because I have quite high standards when it comes to some things, and I think I'd be quite brutal to myself.
Sure.
Like, you spent the whole day, you avoided your plan for the day, and being quite brutal. But this idea of little wins when it comes to the calendar, I think could be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I don't have kids, but when I'm working with my clients who do have kids,
Enjoy the
I,
sleep, all you can. Like sleep should be like add that, India fine, but sleep
yeah,
trumps India. You just sleep out Saturdays, Sundays.
I will
Yeah.
really, yeah, I'll think of you when I'm
Like
lying
this
in.
podcast room, my roomie. I mean, I could turn the camera, but there's the bed where my roomie sleeps. My 8-month son. He's not sleeping now, obviously, but
Okay.
so yeah, enjoy the sleep.
I love that so much. What I was going to say was
Yeah.
that sometimes when I'm working with clients with children, maybe they have to move a call in the calendar and they're so sorry, like, it's really last minute. And it's really easy for me to say this as someone without kids, but I always think, give yourself grace for the fact that like raising a small human often means that things will change and be really unexpected. Because what I notice in my clients is that something will happen, the kid is sick, they can't go to work, they're working from home, they're looking after a little one. And there's this shame and frustration that they turn not at the kid, but at themselves. They're like angry at themselves that they can't do these things that they said they were going to do. So you're not actually angry because your calendar's changed. You're angry because of this perfectionism that you had, this expectation that you had, that things should go this way because you said that. And even if you don't have children, many of us can relate to that. Whether you're out there in the world applying for jobs, you can have this expectation like, I was meant to get that job. How dare they go with somebody else? But we kind of just have to let go and step back and remember there's so much about the human experience that humans still don't understand. I love one of my favorite quotes is the best is yet to come. So even when things feel really messy, something really unexpected happens, after that initial frustration, can you find this part in yourself where you're like, you know what? It's okay. I missed that train. I missed that meeting. I'm sick. I've got the flu. I'm in bed, whatever that thing is. It's going to work out for me and it's going to work out better than I could have ever planned it. And you almost have to build this trust with yourself and your own skills, and also with this sort of like larger force of energy that you're working together to build this beautiful life that you've been dreaming of, or that you kind of have in the back of your mind.
Do you have anything in particular you do to kind of snap yourself out? So say something doesn't go to plan and you've placed a lot of stock into it going to plan and it doesn't. Any kind of hacks you have to kind of snap yourself back out or center yourself or to kind of...
One of the first things I do is allow myself to fully feel that emotion, fully feel that frustration, feel that anger. Don't take it out on anyone, but allow yourself to be like, that's really annoying. And then I think one of my favorite things to do is that when I have time, maybe later in the evening after this thing has happened or the next morning, is I open my journal and I just start to drop all of the thoughts that I have about that thing. So if something goes wrong, my brain will start to have thoughts like, okay, I didn't get that job. It means that I'm not going to move into this industry. Maybe I don't have enough skills. I need to go back to university. I want to go back to university. Your brain goes through this sort of like downward spiral of everything is bad, everything is horrible, nothing is ever going to work out for me. What I often find is that by doing that list of thoughts, I give my brain that chance to vent. And then it's so much easier to be like, how many of these thoughts are factual? Like, is it a fact that I'm not going to move into that industry that I want to? Like, can I say that's a fact? Often our negative thoughts and our fears aren't factual, at least not yet. It's not true that you're never going to get a job. That's probably quite unlikely if you're going to be alive for the next 25 years. And I go through all of my negative thoughts and I try to look for the ones that are facts. I cross out the ones that are not factual. And it gives me this sense of relief, like, oh, wow, I thought not getting that job was going to be an awful, terrible thing to happen to me. Turns out my brain made all of that up. And if my brain is already making up stuff, why not make up a positive outcome? Okay, I didn't get that job. What am I going to do? I'm going to email the hiring manager in 3 months. I'm going to tell them what I've been working on. I'm going to connect with people in my network. I'm going to find new opportunities. And all of a sudden, something that was very unexpected and maybe even very painful becomes this opportunity to develop a new way of thinking, new ideas, and a new approach.
I love that on so many levels, because on the one hand, I'm also kind of annoyed by it because so many people around me are journaling and I'm like, it's not me. I've tried, but I'm kind of, I have to give it a start again because lots of people around me, they journal. And I was really curious to see what you would say. And so, but first you have the kind of act of brain dumping on everything that's out there. And then what I love about that is you go further, you then just dissect it and you bust a lot of these worries that aren't really realistic, and then you have that satisfaction. I'm sure it's a great kind of process of striping away probably most of the stuff you wrote down, so most of the stuff you worried, and then some factual, and probably another layer would be stuff that you can't do anything about, outside of your control. And so this is I mean, I can imagine that would also help me for sure. But just to reflect, so going back to the calendar bit, I loved what we spoke about in terms of this kind of my calendar being a product or this is not what we spoke about, but how I'm making sense of that now, reflecting back on that bit, is that at the moment, if I look at my calendar, it's more product of outside influences. There's not
Okay,
much
yeah.
elbows out. I haven't conquered space in my calendar that is mine, that I protect, the island
Mm.
that I protect. And I should really do that. And that came out of what we discussed just now, and kind of also figuring out small wins.
Yeah.
I really love that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about something similar, like I score a goal from the halfway line, you know, I'm happy, but it dies
Yeah.
down. But so many things happen on a daily basis that are steps in the right direction, but we don't really see it like that. You fly over it. You don't even see it. We're not wired
Yeah, sure.
to see that. And in terms of my calendar, yeah, Peter Charles, define your small wins when it comes to calendar management, you know.
Mm.
And I also love the bold bit. I don't know if I'm in the right job now. Maybe I could test it out, you know, just see,
Yeah.
just dip my toes into the pool and say, like, guys, Friday, no meetings for Peter
Yeah.
Charles. I'll be working,
I mean,
but,
the
you know,
worst
not
thing
on
that could
Fridays.
happen is that you say, I was joking, ha ha ha, and everyone's like, oh, that's so funny.
But I think if there are ways, I mean, for me, it doesn't have to be a day already, just like no meetings before 9 with different
Mm.
time zones and those kind of things, or having the first half an hour of my day to plan the day,
Yeah.
or closing off a day and planning the next day, but just being consistent. For me, the moment that the school bell rings, you know, just like in the movies where the teacher's still talking, I've already left,
Yeah,
you know,
literally gone.
and so everybody's winding down, and I'm already left. So, but actually having the consistency in my habits to just close off the day, plan for the next day, that would take stress away, and also elbows out and conquering some islands for Peter Charles would be a good one. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I'd say we close the coaching session there. I realized I did a lot of the talking, and you kind of helped with perspectives and also the contrasting that you did, comparing what we can work on now versus how you see things. And that was really impressive. So do you care to reflect on the coaching session? You can talk about me as
Yeah.
if I'm, you know, not there.
Do you know what's so funny is that I was about to start talking about myself.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I coach with my clients, a lot of the time it is my client talking and it is me listening. I'm looking for
Yeah.
the contradictions in what they're maybe saying or
Mm.
wanting and what is happening in their life. And also, there's something that can happen if you feel like maybe you're living your life and you're being pulled in all these different directions. And then to have someone listen to you for an hour, asking questions, probing, just that can help the brain come up with a lot of different ideas. I think people think that coaching is hiring someone for an hour and they're going to tell you, do this, do that, and do this. And I think sometimes some coaches do definitely have that approach. But the coaches that I have worked with that have changed my life the most, they've allowed me to realize what I wanted and allowed me to realize that I also have a lot of the answers. Maybe I just need a little bit of nudging, you know, in that direction.
Comes back to what your mum said, right? With the perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Right back to what she said. And when people ask me what coaching is, I always say, think of that drawer or that cupboard in your house where you just shove random things in that don't have a home. Like there's batteries in there, there's old light bulbs, there's chargers.
We've got a couple.
Yeah,
There's one behind me
literally.
right here. There's a few in the kitchen. Actually, nothing makes sense anymore.
Nothing makes sense. And like coaching is like your brain is full of all of these things that maybe are useful, maybe was useful once, we don't know. It's about opening that drawer and picking up all the things one by one, saying, do we want this? Do you want to keep this? Or is this going in the bin? So yeah, that's my approach. I love it. I coach myself nearly each and every day because as much as I have these tools, I also have a human brain that gets very scared and very anxious and very irritable. So I would say so much of the coaching that I've learned is because I've had to like do that work on myself first.
Any kind of specific tools that have had the most impact in your life, or phrases, or anything really? What's your go-to for yourself?
This one kind of comes back to what you said about like the fact that you hate journaling, you started it, you tried it before, but wasn't really for you. I'm a big fan of remixing things and trying things and changing it up until you find the thing that works for you. It's not always possible to have a journal. So what do you do when you're like on a plane or you're on the train or something? And one of my favorite things to do is to I say to myself, stop, drop, and roll. Give me 10 things I love about myself. And then I'll start listing 10 things I love about myself. And often I do this when I'm on walks. Like I like to go outside, like I'm annoyed at something.
You do 10. I'd struggle with 3. No. I'd find 3, but 10 would be a stretch. Well, okay, I'd have to rewind my brain a bit. But okay,
Right.
10. You're on 10. Okay, fine.
Right. But even like recognizing that, like we can get so caught up in like what's going on, what's on the news, like the thing that person said in the meeting, that we forget that we also exist. Like we are also someone who needs love and encouragement. And so when you get to the end of the 10 things that you love about yourself, I always find that my emotional state has shifted. I feel a sense of connection to myself. I feel stronger, and you're actually much more likely to change the things that you don't like when you're coming from this place of wholeness than when you're coming from this place of, gosh, I feel stressed. There's so many things going on. I feel disappointed about that thing. So I do that out loud and I feel that emotional change. So yeah, I would challenge you, if you didn't like journaling, to try doing something out loud or saying something out loud to yourself, recording a voice note on your phone so your brain gets that experience of processing that information.
That's the first thing I thought of, these kind of dorky recorders, not the phone, but just, these dorky recorders that, I don't know, like professors would walk around with and just record their thoughts. With me in the podcast interest, that would be a good one, because I'd have a whole library of uninterrupted waffle.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant.
But that it is kind of cool. That might work for me, just like pressing a button and just like talking out. That could be cool. I mean, my go-to to pull me out of something is cooking. I notice my whole kind of state shifting. But the challenge you just had there, I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna definitely, well, I don't need to write it down because it's being recorded, but I'm gonna do the I'll send them to you. I'll do the 10 things Peter loves about himself.
Yeah.
Just knock on my digital door if it's 2 weeks and Peter hasn't come up with them. There's a problem.
If you're still at 3, I'll be like,
yeah, exactly.
You need to take some time. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I know you have a how do you call it? Future self journal?
Yeah. Future self 90-day journal.
Yeah. Please tell us about it.
Yeah, it's good fun. So when I'm setting goals, I always like to think about what I can achieve in 90 days. Either I have a big goal and I break it down into 90-day sections, or I'm trying to achieve something in 90 days. And the reason why is really simple. Find it, just the way my brain works, I think I find it really challenging to focus on something for long times when my brain can't see the finish line. 90 days is usually enough time for us to try something new, get back up again and try again. But it's also enough time to like really give yourself the space to really go at a goal. So the Future Self 90-day journal is set over 90 days. Every day there's a 10-minute exercise designed to get you to think and really question the fears and the doubts that are coming up about your goal. It's based on this idea that if you can shift your doubts just by 10% each day, you'll be able to achieve your goal. So it's really fun. I recommend it.
Wow, I've never heard of it in that way, like achieving your goals, small steps, but you're actually speaking about, reducing the doubt in small increments, and then is suddenly a lot less left.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever played any video games like where your character starts with this like 100% life bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think about goals as like the opposite. Like we start with 0% confidence in whatever goal that we're setting if we've never done this before. So let's say that you are working in a corporate job and you decide to start a business. At the beginning, you're at 0%. You need to go out into just kind of like in a video game where you go and like you get little lives and you get little health things and like it adds to your bar. You have to go out into the world and have experiences that increase your confidence and your belief in that goal. And when that bar gets to about, I don't think it has to get to 100% confidence, but usually we achieve our goals when we're about like 80% sure that we can do it. And so if that is true, then the things that stop us from feeling confident in being able to do something and take action is the conversation and the dialogue that's happening in our minds. Part of that dialogue is conditioning. So when it comes to starting a business, societally, we have this conditioning that you should have a job, that it's safe to have a job. But then there's also what the brain does just because of evolution. We're motivated by something called a motivational triad, which means that we seek safety. We all do. We are all motivated to seek safety. We want to move towards pleasure. We want to move away from pain, which is just unfortunate because often so much of our goals requires that uncomfortability. It requires pain and all of those challenges. So if we, as often as we can, like every day as we're working on a goal, give ourselves 10 minutes to challenge our thoughts, challenge our doubts, shift all of that conditioning, decide to believe something else, what it's going to do, it's going to encourage us to also take action, encourage us to try new things, and allow us achieve our goal in that deadline that we've set for ourselves.
I love it. Reducing the barriers to getting moving, and the analogy you had with a kind of a video game figure going out there and winning stuff. Also had to think of the beginning of our conversation with confidence. Do you get that through doing stuff, or does it just magically appear? But the way you sketched it, the character grows as the character's going out there, and you're reducing through that exercise, you're reducing the barriers to getting moving in the first place. So that sounds like an absolutely lovely journal. And I saw, because I did some snooping on your profile, you do this with groups of people. So in London, you have workshops where groups of people come, they do exercises, brains collide, ideas are had.
It's so fun.
So fun. Okay.
Yeah.
For people who aren't in London, what can they do to find out more about you, maybe stay in touch with or get in touch with you? What would you say to those people?
I would say find me on Instagram. It's where I have the most fun. Instagram and LinkedIn, actually. So I'm on Instagram at Kyra the Bold, and I'm also on LinkedIn at Kyra Matthews. Get in touch with me there. I'd love to hear from you.
Last challenge of the show. Everybody's driving to work. The listeners are driving to work and they see Kyra Matthews' billboard. But what would your billboard message be to the listeners?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the first thing that came to mind, I'm just going to go with the first thing, but the first thing that came to mind, and you said that, was it would be a question, and the question would be, what would you do if you were unstoppable? And what I would hope is that people drive into work and they're like, if I was unstoppable, if I could do anything, I would go to India. I would spend 3 months doing yoga, finding myself. I would go to Nepal, and they say this dream out loud to themselves, to a friend, to a colleague, and then they start questioning, wait, but why aren't I doing that? I really want to do that. Like, why aren't I doing that? And they start questioning all of their, no, but I can't do it because I've got this job, or no, I can't do it because I don't have savings, or whatever those barriers are. And they start sort of crowdsourcing and asking their friends and doing research on YouTube and finding different ways to make that dream work for them. And maybe going to India for 3 months isn't the best thing for that person. But my hope is that through going through that process of discovery, they find out what works for them. And, they're going to tell their story somewhere, and 5 years later, someone's going to be in the exact same position as them and be like, wow, like, tell me how you did that.
I saw the billboard too.
Yeah, exactly.
The same billboard. What are the odds?
So yeah, that would be my message.
I love it. What would a parting challenge be to the audience that they could maybe something achievable that they could try and do within the next week?
I would say find your 10% shift. Think about a goal that you have at the moment. I have some friends that are running the London Marathon in the summer. I think if you have that goal and you're working towards something at the moment, where can you find just 10% improvement in your current routine? Is it, in the marathon example, going to bed earlier, doing some strength workouts, changing up your nutrition, eating protein? How can you just improve that by 10%? I think we've spoken about this a lot in this conversation about the brain has this all or nothing. Like, if I'm gonna like eat more protein, then I've got to eat all of the protein, all of the time, all of the things. But how can you just improve it by 10%? Find that 10% and try and be as consistent as you can with it.
Yeah. I can even apply that challenge for my perfect day example, 10%. What are the 10% of my perfect day? But I love that about the marathon because it's such a clear goal. So having a clear goal, you can very easily see what supports that goal. But I love the 10% is kind of achievable. Ciara Matthews, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Peter. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, just the whole setup. It's so fun.
Good. Thanks.